Hey there folks, welcome. I'm going to still have the backing from Singapore. I haven't been able to jump onto F120 to record back to Suzuka. But let's talk about the Japanese Grand Prix. Let's start off with, well, probably the biggest talking point. Double world champion, twice champion of the world, Max Verstappen. Well done to him, honestly. Like, we'll talk about the ruling and the way that it's been conveyed and so on. But I think it's nice for him to have won it in Suzuka. The main dampener I have is because of the way the rule was written and conveyed and how it's been presented. I feel like you put a dampener on it. I do, because Suzuka's the best place for it to happen. Let's be honest. Look, Honda's home track. You had so many Honda representatives there. They didn't get to have a Japanese Grand Prix. The time they were working with Red Bull as the proper engine supplier. It's very sweet. It's got a nice ring to it. But, and not only that, but the way he drove today, it's dominant. Like 27 seconds through half a race distance. He had enough to be able to pit and come back out and set a fastest lap and, well, really go all the way. Maybe even take the championship if they had done a reduced points format. Didn't put a foot wrong. And there's very few drivers you can say that about this weekend. And sure, he's put feet wrong this season, but he's done it the least. It's one of those things that I think I said when it came to Hamilton's 6th world title or 5th world title, that this kind of skill has to be applauded, whether you, well, not necessarily applauded, but acknowledged at least, whether you're a fan of that person or not, because there is skill behind it. Sure, yes, Red Bull have made the best car, but the driver has to make it work to be able to be in that position. I mean, compare him to Checo. Verstappen, whether that car's built to him, or whether he's adapted himself to the car, he can make that car work in a way that his teammates can't. He might not have been able to do it to Ferrari, but who knows? Who cares? Right? But yeah, the way that the FIA have handled this race, it just doesn't feel too right. Firstly, the rulebook. Look, even if it is something that's been there for a while, the way that it's worded, doesn't mean it should always stick. And the fact that it's stayed there for a long time and that it's had precedence for it before, but it hasn't caused an issue like this before, proves to be one point. And it's from that kind of whole, should we have the same stewards as every race debate. I fall on the side of we shouldn't need the same stewards as every race. The reason why I believe that we shouldn't need to is because if the rulebook's strong enough, they'll come to the same conclusions anyway. So if there's an issue with it, it's an issue that then lies squarely with the FIA. And I think with this, that's the case. Believe me, there are things in race direction that they did horribly wrong today. The tractor on track, when the cars weren't all bunched up. Look, I see people like George Russell saying, oh, there shouldn't be a tractor or crane on track when cars are going around. That's often part of the parcel of F1. I'm not going to go to that kind of an extreme, but that guy's the head of the GPDA, so I can understand why he's advocating from that point of view. But what I would say is they should make sure that the whole pack is bunched up before they do that. Because it was still yellow flag, Gasly was at a reduced speed, the moment it goes red, so the moment he sees the crane. And they give him a converted drive through after the race. Like, sure, maybe he was speeding, but these procedures seem like they're not clear cut, and given the fact that safety cars, especially in the wet, and red flag procedures are so common in F1, you would expect them to be a bit more clear cut. So the fact he was able to infringe anything in the first place shows an issue with the rulebook. Overall, the rest of the rules were applied alright. We had our 3 hours. We ran to the 3 hours. We didn't run to the 2 hours, we ran to the 3. And a bit like Singapore last week, right? Like with Singapore, they pushed back the start time, which meant they were able to start the 3 hours later. But they are following the rules. Whether you agree or disagree on consistency, I believe that's something you can lay with the FIA and the rulebook itself. But what I do believe is the case is that there is, I wouldn't blame necessarily the stewards, or not always the direction. Like, direction probably made a wrong call, or whoever was in charge of sending the marshals out made the wrong call. Yeah, I'd say that. but then put in a procedure to make sure it doesn't happen again. The problem with motorsport is, like with most sectors or industries or anything like that, it's reactive rather than proactive. Now this is a chance to react before the things get worse, because they happened worse before. Something that everyone's been talking about today. Those are my thoughts. Let me know yours in the comment section down below. Thank you for watching. I hope to see you again soon. Bye for now.